friends, good afternoon. Come and sit down with me and don't leave too soon. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try. Together we can make a difference if we try. Hello there, my lovely friends. Good afternoon. Come and sit down with me and don't leave too soon. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hi, everybody in chat. It's so good to see you. It has been a hot minute since I've been live, and I missed it. And I missed all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and joining me today. It's good to see all of you. It is so good to see all of you. Thank you so much to my mods for being here. And we're here today for Justice for London. And there has been a lot going on in the last month. I hope you all had happy holidays and you're having a happy new year. We're definitely having an interesting new year with this case. And hey there, TYO Toys. Hey, wow. Haven't seen you in a minute. It's good to see you here. Thank you for dropping in. And thank you, everybody, for dropping in to get an update on this case. There's been a lot going on. The last time we checked in on this case was before Braydon Brown's December hearing, right? He had a hearing on December 17th. I was supposed to go. I had things come up and I didn't end up going to that hearing. Brittany and Rochelle were there, obviously. But the next hearing is February 6th, and there is a lot to catch up on before we get to the February 6th hearing, but it is going to be a huge hearing. It's going to be huge. So we have some court docs to go over that have been filed since that. We have some Google Earth maps to go over. I plotted out the probable cause affidavit telephone pings and what happened from June 5th to June 7th with their phone pings is insane. It's insane. And then we have some boots on the ground footage to air also. So we did boots on the ground back before the December hearing, like way before the December hearing, like before charges were even filed against Braydon Brown. So what we're talking about is the case of London Valdez, who was a 16-year-old that went missing and was declared a runaway back on June 5th, 6th, 7th of this year. And she was declared missing and a runaway officially on June 7th. She left home. She lived with her grandmother in Hooker, Oklahoma. She left home on June 5th at about 11 o'clock-ish in the morning, texted, said, "I'll be right back." She wasn't back. She didn't come right back. She left with an adult male, Jose Minjares Luna, who was a convicted felon and who was out of prison on a deferred sentence. And what we're going to look at today is going to be interesting because here we go. Right. So going live, I've got to interact more with chat, right? Did the family report her as missing as a runaway? Yes. So Grandma, Liz Taylor, who she was living with, did call the sheriff on the 6th. So she left home on the 5th. Grandma called the local town, Hooker PD, on the 6th. She knew the chief of police, Scott Hedrick, personally had his phone number, called him and talked to him. But on the 7th, so 2 days after she left home, she was officially reported as missing and eventually as a runaway also. So yeah, so she was, and that has some legal ramifications and repercussions, right? Because if you commit a crime in the state of Oklahoma with someone who is officially a runaway, then there are more legal charges that you can face. And when we get to the boots on the ground videos that we're going to watch in a little bit here, which we recorded before charges were filed against Braydon Brown, you'll hear Brittany and Rochelle talking about charges that haven't been filed yet. But those don't just apply to Braydon Brown. So Braydon Brown is the last person to see London alive. And that's according to his testimony. That's according to the probable cause affidavit. But there were other adults that also saw her in those 2.5 days, from the morning of the 5th to the evening of the 7th. So we have questions about that. We have questions, and to date, as far as I know, no charges have been filed against anybody except for Braydon Brown. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Why don't we get right into the court documents? Let's go to my Acrobat. This is a record of felony proceedings from the December 17th hearing. This is what happened on December 17th. I was supposed to be there. I wasn't. Hopefully, I'm trying to talk Brittany and Rochelle into joining me live to talk about the last hearing and the next hearing and why this next hearing is going to be so big. But at least we can check out the actual court document itself. So Braydon Gene Brown did appear personally and with his attorney in McCaffrey. OIDS is the Oklahoma Indigent Defense Service. So he's been declared indigent. And when we look at my maps here in a minute, my Google Earth map, him being declared indigent matters because of the number of miles that they traveled in those 2.5 days. According to the probable cause affidavit and to testimony of people who saw her in those 2.5 days, they were partying pretty heavy. They were drinking alcohol and allegedly doing drugs, and they traveled a significant number of miles in that 2.5 days. Where did they get the money to do that? That's a question that I have. All right, here we go. So they have a FTR record for FTR is a court recording system, video and audio. That's FTR is for the record. That's the court recording system. Defendant requests preliminary hearing on February 6th at 9 a.m. Barring anything short of a death in the family, I will be there on February 6th. Court reporter requested. Bond is continued until February 6th. So it's a pretty lightweight court recording, but it's in front of Abby Cash, the Honorable Judge Abby Cash, who is Associate District Judge for this district. That's noteworthy because, as we're going to see in a minute, there are two main judges for this. There's the district judge and the associate district judge. The district judge is the Honorable John Parsley. The associate district judge is the Honorable Abby. I think that says Abby Lou Cash. Does she go by Abby Lou? I asked a couple people and nobody knows her by Abby Lou Cash, but that's what it looks like according to her signature. But she is the same judge, and the Honorable John Parsley is the same judge who oversaw Jose's criminal case where he was charged with 9 counts. I think all 9 counts were felony counts, but regardless, several felony counts from a 2023 masked armed robbery. And all but one of those counts were either dismissed or pled out to one eventual charge of using a handgun in commission of a felony. But these are the same judges that oversaw that case. And he was sentenced to 7 years for that charge, for that felony charge of the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, and all 7 years was deferred. That was just in April. So that was 2 months prior to this incident with London. So many questions. And these are the same judges that are going to be overseeing this pretrial hearings and eventually, hopefully, the trial itself. It's also the same assistant DA we're going to see in a minute here. When we look in on, so part 3, we're going to get a little bit deeper in depth into Jose, who is the adult male that picked up London from her grandmother's house on June 5th and participated in the partying and the driving around and not bringing her home for 2.5 days. We'll get more into that into part 3, so I don't want to get into it as much here because I want to get into the boots on the ground videos. But I also want to emphasize how important the February 6th hearing is going to be. Hold on, let me change this perspective just a little bit. Here we go. So the reason that the February 6th hearing is going to be so important, one of the reasons, is because there's a 2-judge system in Oklahoma, and I'm still trying to figure it out and navigate what it all means. But I believe it's my understanding at this time, until somebody corrects it, that the judge can still, at this February 6th hearing, can still determine that there isn't enough probable cause or there isn't enough evidence to proceed to trial, even though he's been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. And I'm going to say it out loud. I'm not going to mince words here. He's been charged with it. The OSBI Special Agent Ryan Beck has prepared and signed off on a probable cause affidavit, and the district attorney, the regional district attorney, George Buddy Leach, has filed those charges. The judge can still overturn that and can still say after the February 6th hearing, I don't think there's enough evidence to proceed to trial. So the February 6th hearing is going to be pretty big. All right, let's look at the other court documents. So December 17th, there was the hearing, and then in between Christmas and New Year's, there were several documents that were filed. This is one of those documents that were filed. Motion to endorse additional witnesses. So I actually had to redact this. Her address was listed on the official document without redaction. I redacted it to not dox her. This is Grandma. This is Elizabeth Taylor. She was endorsed as an additional witness. She was not listed on the probable cause affidavit, but now she has been endorsed as an additional witness. And there's Parker Olmstead. He is the assistant district attorney in Beaver County that is handling a lot of the local stuff. But Buddy Leach supposedly is the one that's going to handle the main case when and if it goes to trial. So here is a corrected subpoena. In the District Court of First Judicial District of the state of Oklahoma, sitting in and for Beaver County. So there were 2 subpoenas that were filed in between Christmas and New Year's. One of them for Deputy Jason Johnston of the Beaver County Sheriff's Office. So Deputy Johnston is a big figure, plays a big role in all of this, because he's the one that Braydon Brown said told him, being Braydon Brown, to go out and collect trash alongside the road outside of Forgan, Oklahoma, within about a mile of where London's body was eventually found, within, a half mile, quarter mile of where his vehicle got stuck that night on June 7th of this year. So June 5th, she goes missing. June 6th and 7th, they go partying, and they drive between several known places and a new place that I didn't know, Perryton, Texas. They also drove to Perryton, Texas. I'll show you that in a minute on Google Earth. But Jason Johnston received the call that night on June the 7th and went and picked up Brayden after receiving a call from a local farmer within about a mile of where London's body was, allegedly, and called Brayden's dad, said, "Hey, come pick up your boy." Brayden's dad said, "Hey, I've been drinking. I can't come pick him up." And then so Deputy Jason Johnston, listed on this corrected subpoena, supposedly drove Braydon Brown home to Beaver, Oklahoma. The reason this is a corrected subpoena, I'm not going to show the original ones, it's kind of a duplication of effort, is Says a preliminary hearing on the 6th day of February. The original subpoenas that they released between Christmas and New Year's said January 6th, 6th day of January. And so they were filed incorrectly. They had to correct them. They did immediately after New Year's. Here is the one for Jose Azeas Minares Luna. This is Jose. This also listed his address without redaction. I redacted his address too. We don't need to dox people on here, and let it be known that all suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But Jose admitted to picking up London on June 5th from her grandmother's house in Hooker, Oklahoma, and being without her, and eventually in Guyman, Oklahoma, turning his car keys over to Braydon Brown, and Brayden telling him, I will take her home from Guyman, drove right through Hooker all the way over to Forgan, Oklahoma. Why don't we look at that map? First, we'll look at the last court document before I close that out. Oh, I don't have that shared. That's awesome. I haven't been sharing this. Here we go. I will show you all this document. There we go. There's the corrected subpoena for Jose. I got to get back in the groove of going live. Corrected subpoena. The one for Deputy Jason Johnston looked the same. Except it had Deputy Jason Johnston right here instead of Jose Minares Luna. All right, there's that one. And here is, so I wanted to show you this. This is from Jose's 2023 multiple felony case. And we're going to take a detailed look at the charges that he was charged with in that in part 3. And it's going to take me a lot less time to get around to part 3. I know it took me a while to get to part 2, but part 3, we're going to look at the detailed charges in this. There were 9 charges that were filed against him. So there was an armed robbery, a masked armed robbery that Jose was involved with and charged with in this 2023 case. He was charged with 9 felony counts. 3 or 4 of them got dismissed by the judge on legal grounds. The other 3 or 4, whatever the math is, got pled out in a plea deal, and he ended up just pleading to 1 charge. Let's see. Let's go through this. All right. Defendant appears in open court in person, appears with attorney Ryan Lowenstern, sworn and appointed as interpreter for the defendant. Oh, so Lowenstein was interpreter. Defendant admitted his true name is charged. Defendant advised the court he could read, write, speak, and understand spoken English. Okay, so he didn't need an interpreter. Not consumed alcoholic beverages, all standard court stuff, received a copy of the information. He did understand the nature of his charges, was advised by the court of his constitutional rights, right to counsel, affirmatively waived his right to 24 hours in which to plead, entered a plea of guilty to the following: count 5. Counts 2, 3, and 4 dismissed with costs. He affirmatively waived his constitutional rights. Advised the court he understood the minimum and maximum penalties of the charge. Advised the court that his guilty plea was made voluntarily and the offer of proof was provided by the state. So he pled out once already last fall to several charges, but he still had 3 or 4 that he was going through the judicial process for. And then in January, he filed a motion to undo the prior plea agreement. So this is actually the second plea agreement that he agreed to. And it ended up, instead of being 3 or 4 charges that he pled guilty to, it ended up just being 1. But it was something like the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. Judgment and sentence defer to April 8th, which is the date of this hearing. It is the judgment of this court. Here we go. This is the important part. The defendant is adjudged guilty and is sentenced to the following: count 5, 7 years deferred to April 8th, 2032. So he's sentenced to a felony that involves a firearm in the commission of a felony. He's sentenced to 7 years, and it's all deferred. And that is the judge, the Honorable Judge John Parsley, that signs off on this. That's noteworthy because the Honorable Judge John Parsley is the one that is overseeing this trial. Destiny. I don't have a record of that. I have a record. Jose. So Destiny says Jose was also convicted for domestic abuse of his ex-girlfriend. I have a copy of the domestic, or I have a copy of an application for a restraining order against him. But I believe if he was convicted for domestic abuse, I believe that was when he was a minor. So we don't have a copy of that because it was a juvenile record. But that's interesting that you bring that up, because also it is rumored, or it is known by locals who have told me, but I cannot verify, that Braydon Brown was one of the other individuals associated in that armed robbery, that masked armed robbery, that 2023 case that we just looked at, all but one charge being dismissed for various reasons, whether the court dismissed it or whether they were dismissed as a part of the plea agreement. Braydon Brown was allegedly involved with that masked armed robbery, but he was a juvenile. And so that record is also sealed. And the jury is probably never going to know about that. If Brayden goes to trial, if this case goes to trial, God willing, the jury will never know about that, about his involvement in that masked armed robbery in Beaver County. So it's a tangled web. It's a mess. All right. So that's my court docs. So we're going to do Google Maps too, right? Go StreamYard. Let's present my Google Maps. Hold on. Share screen, window, Google Earth Pro. Here we go. We're going to take a look at my Google Maps. Add to stage. Yeah, Debbie Niner fan, that's a good point. It's good to know about people's criminal history, but also the court has to be extra cautious about sharing information that's prejudicial versus probative to the jury. So I doubt that that's coming in. And especially considering the fact that he was a juvenile at the time, we're not going to know. We're not going to hear about it in trial. Jury's not going to hear about it in trial. All right, Google Maps. Here we go. So here's the entire U.S., and here's where everything went down in the panhandle of Oklahoma. So you can see Hooker, Oklahoma is where London was living. Now, the other towns on here are listed in the probable cause affidavit, except for Liberal, Kansas. I added Liberal, Kansas, and you can see the county lines or the state lines in here. There's the state line between Kansas and Oklahoma. Here's the state line between Oklahoma and Texas. I added Liberal, Kansas in there because in the original missing poster, they believed that she was last seen in Liberal, Kansas, because there was a report that she was seen with somebody in Liberal, Kansas. Turns out that wasn't accurate. Guyman, Oklahoma, right here, is an important town because they also checked there for her originally as well, because she had a boyfriend that was released from jail just 2 days before she went missing. And he was living in Guyman, Oklahoma. So the Hooker PD, once they got the report that she was missing, called down to their buddies in Guyman and said, hey, go look up this guy and see if she's there with him. They did. She wasn't there with him. She was not there with him in Guyman, Oklahoma. But she did travel to Guyman with Jose and Brayden, according to the probable cause affidavit and the cell phone pings that Special Agent Ryan Beck was able to extract. And these are the paths of travel of the cell phone pings that Special Agent Ryan Beck was able to extract. So first ping, there's that blue path of travel from Hooker, Oklahoma, down to Woodward, Oklahoma. So pay attention to this path of travel, because Woodward, Oklahoma is where Braydon Brown's mother lived. So his mother and his father are no longer married. He was staying with his mother in Woodward. And after Jose picked up London, they drove 120 miles, 120 something miles to Woodward, Oklahoma on June the 5th. They drove to Woodward, Oklahoma to meet with Braydon Brown. There was no other reason for them to go there. So after they drove there, they hung out that night, they partied. Supposedly, allegedly, according to probable cause affidavit, Braydon Brown's mother saw them drinking alcohol and heard them talking about doing drugs. Here, this green path of travel is from Woodward, Oklahoma to Beaver, Oklahoma. More cell phone pings. Beaver, Oklahoma is where Braydon Brown's father lived. So this was on the 6th. June the 6th, they travel to Braydon Brown's father's house in Beaver. Once again, more drinking alcohol, allegedly doing partying with other things too. That is a lot of miles one way. 120 miles one way just to go meet with Braydon Brown, who, E.T. Lizard, who London had never met before, allegedly. Wait until you see me map out all of these paths and all of these cell phone pings. It's not a small deal. So then on the 6th, so that's June 5th, after London leaves home with Jose, he drives her with her to Woodward, to Braydon's mother's house. Then they drive to Braydon's father's house in Beaver. Supposedly on the 6th, then they drink more alcohol and do more partying there. Then they drive over to Guyman, Oklahoma. And I originally thought and understood that Jose lived in Guyman. Jose didn't live in Guyman. He lived in Beaver, the same town as Brayden lived in. But one of Jose's buddies lived in Guyman, one of his friends, whatever you can call that. So then they drove to Guyman. Then They drove to Perryton, Texas. Now, understand that this is just Google Maps taking me from point A to point B. This is the direct path of travel. I'm not saying this is necessarily their path of travel on those days. This is Google Maps taking me from point A to point B, where their cell phones pinged. Perryton, Texas. What are they doing in Perryton, Texas? Perryton, Texas. What are they doing there? God only knows. And Jose knows. And Jose has been subpoenaed now. I showed you the subpoena. Jose and Deputy Jason Johnston have been subpoenaed for the February 6th hearing. So maybe Judge Cash or Judge Parsley will have these questions for them. What were you doing in Perryton, Texas? Then they go from Perryton, Texas, back up to Beaver, Oklahoma. Then they go from Beaver, Oklahoma, back to Guyman again. So they did this big loop from Beaver to Guyman to Perryton, back to Beaver, back to Guyman. And these are people that that I know of, allegedly have no jobs and steady source of income. Then now we have from Guyman, once they get back to Guyman, they eventually end up outside of Forgan, Oklahoma. Okay, so I'm going to turn on all of those paths. Click. Oh, these are tiny little boxes to click. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There are all of their driving around that they did between June 5th to June 7th. I added them up. That's almost 500 miles of traveling they did in 2.5 days. What on earth were they doing driving 500 miles in 2.5 days? I mean, I have my theories. I'm not going to speak it out loud, but y'all probably have your own thoughts too. What were they doing driving 500 miles in 2.5 days? I know the family has their thoughts too. So that's all I'm going to talk about the probable cause affidavit and the trips that Special Agent Ryan Beck mapped out with his cell phone pings. Hopefully he has a map similar to that to show to the jury when this goes to trial. It's going to go to trial. Now, I'm going to take you to boots on the ground. Brittany and Rochelle were gracious enough a few months ago to join me out at London Spot. And the very first thing that they did, not the very first thing they did, the most important thing that they did was take me out to London Spot. So we're going to focus on that. So here's London Spot down in the lower left corner. It's at the intersection of two roads, East-West 9 and North-South 135. So these are 1 mile squares. This is the public land system breakout. These big squares are 1 mile squares. So it's 2 miles south and a little more than 2 miles west of Forgan, Oklahoma. And about 1, 2, 3 miles north and 1, 2, 3, 4 miles west of Beaver, Oklahoma. So Beaver, Oklahoma, we know Jose lived there, Brayden lived there, but outside of Forgan, in Forgan, Oklahoma, supposedly Brayden's grandparents, both his maternal and paternal grandparents, owned land outside of Forgan. So that's that's relevant in this. Right? TYO Toys meeting up with a dealer or distributing after they met up with a dealer. Maybe. Like, I mean, it just doesn't make sense that a teenage girl and two adult males would just drive around 500 miles just for the hell of it. You know, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So we're going to go boots on the ground. And so a little reminder of the dates. She goes missing out of Hooker all the way over here on the 5th. They do all that driving around. And then eventually on the 7th, she ends up outside. Supposedly, she ends up outside of Forgan, Oklahoma on the on the 12th is where her body is found, right here at that intersection. On the 14th, Beaver County Sheriff Scott Mitchell meets with a family. He says, let's meet at this abandoned hotel outside of town. So that's going to be our first video, is we're going to take this pink path here. And actually, it might be a little confusing to you because we actually drove past that intersection and then we turned around and came back before we ended up there. So that's the first video, is us driving from that hotel. So when I met with Brittany and Rochelle, we met at that hotel. We drove to that hotel, then we drove from that hotel to London spot. So here we go. I'm just going to let this play out. It's about 4.5 minutes long. Parts of it are sped up a little bit, but it gives you a bird's eye view. And also I want to preface this with, I'm not the first person to go out there boots on the ground with the video. The family has been out there, and the family has shared multiple videos on their Facebook pages and things like that, with their boots on the ground coverage too. So I'm not the first person, but I want to try and bring it to a larger audience, and that's what I'm doing here. We're going to start at that abandoned motel and drive to London spot. I heard part of it today. Okay. So yes, it is dry, it is dusty, it is windy, it is desolate. You can see all the trees were bent over from the constant wind just blowing through there. And we're going to see more video here in a minute, more boots on the ground video. And the wind just is relentless out there. And the dust is relentless. And so one of the things that you're going to know about London, or you're going to learn to know about London, and Mom, Brittany and Rochelle talk about this in the long video, and there's a really long video coming up at the end of this that is really insightful. That London was an outdoors person. Her and her mom liked to go into the mountains. They liked hiking. They liked nature. She wasn't lost in nature. She would not have been lost out here. She would have found help if she was in her right mind. And she started down the road towards finding help. There was help just down the road. And then when I say just down the road, I mean like probably like a mile down the road to the west. And that's where she started. But when she turned that corner, all of a sudden she turned around and came back. And went back to the east, which is where she was found. So her clothes were found around the corner to the west. Let's look at that on Google Earth. Let's look at that. Let me reshare my Google Earth here. There we go. So there's the road we just drove. Dusty, dry, windy. So let's check out where the truck was high centered and where Braydon Brown was picked up. So this point right here is more or less where he got stuck in the road. We're going to drive past that in a second. We're going to drive both ways past it. So how he got there, I don't know. He called his mother and said they're being chased by the police, by State Highway Patrol, and there's no state roads. All right, there's the nearest. No, that's the state line. I don't know where the nearest state road is, but it is really weird for him to say, to end up at this point, at this place, and get his vehicle stuck. Actually, it wasn't his vehicle. It was Jose's vehicle. So let's run a little timeline here. Earlier in the day, the morning of the 7th, they were in Guyman together. All the way over here, they were in Guyman. See over here on the left side, they were in Guyman, all three of them together. Jose, London, Brayden were in Guyman. Jose says, I'm going to go party with some other friends of mine. Brayden says, okay, I will take London home. This is according to the probable cause affidavit, which is based on statements by Jose and hopefully others. We'll talk about that a little bit too, about what this case is based on and what it hinges on. Gives the keys to Brayden, who says, I'll take London home, to Hooker. They had to drive through Hooker to get over here to Forgan, to London's spot. That's like almost due east of Hooker. Like if you look at that, that's like due east of Hooker. So he gives the key to his vehicle, but it's not his vehicle, it's his dad's vehicle. And that's going to play a part in it too. We've talked about that a couple of times too. His dad was pissed that Brayden got the vehicle stuck. There was supposedly, according to the call logs, a dispatch sent out for somebody to come up and pick up or for a tow truck to come out and pick up the truck here, and somebody canceled that dispatch order for a tow truck. That's an interesting wrinkle to it. Uh-oh. No, I didn't share the map. What? Gosh darn it. StreamYard, you got me again. All right, we'll do it again. We'll do it real quick too. Smaller, shorter version of sharing. Here's London spot right here in purple. Here's where Braydon Brown's truck was. Thank you so much for reminding me. Okay. There's supposedly, so this is about, this star right here is about 3/4 of a mile north of where London was found. There's Forgan, Oklahoma. There's Beaver, Oklahoma. There's Guyman, Oklahoma. Got to get back in the swing of this live thing. So sorry, folks. So sorry. So they were in Guyman, all three of them, lower left corner of the map. They were all three of them in Guyman. Jose goes off with his other friends, gives the keys to the truck to Brayden. They drive up through Hooker and eventually wind up over here outside of Forgan. There we go. We're back on the case now. Oh my goodness. All right. So we have a drive to make too. We have more boots on the ground. So after we came here to London spot and did a few things there, then we took a drive. So on this drive from the Forgan Motel out here, I didn't have the microphone set up. I just had my phone on so you guys could hear how dry and windy it is out there. But once we got there, I put microphones on Brittany and Rochelle. And I didn't have my own microphone, so there's some audio when I ask them questions that is inaudible. But when we make the drive, they're in the car in front of me, and it's Bluetooth microphone, so some of the audio gets a little bit jumbled from time to time, but for the most part, I think it's pretty good audio. So we're going to drive north up past the point where the vehicle got stuck, and then over here to this farmhouse over here, and allegedly, according to the call records, this farmer that lives in this house right here called and said that there's this weird dude that's out wandering around in their ditch. There's also reports that he ended up on their porch. So it's all a little bit confusing to me still, but I think the probable cause affidavit said he ran across the field towards the nearest house. So I think he ran this way across the fields to get up there to the house, and he and London had just ingested a large amount of meth. So when you hear Brittany and Rochelle talking, some of what they're saying is speculation, but also Brittany had direct communications with Braydon Brown and with Jose Minares Luna in the days after she was found. And they told her things about what went on when she went missing. So some of the stuff that Brittany says is not just speculation. It's based on what those two adult males who were the last ones to see London alive told her about what happened in that. So there's a mixture in here, and we have to all consider that. And we also have to consider what is the jury going to be able to hear and what are they not going to be able to hear. because this is a very, very largely circumstantial case. Except for the cell phone pings. The cell phone pings are forensic evidence. And seeing those in the probable cause affidavit was very encouraging for me. So I thank you, Angela Turtle Mom. Appreciate your support. Appreciate all of you being in here with me. All right, let's go on this drive right here. There's that orangish colored line. We're going to drive north and west, but then we're going to turn around. So when we're originally driving north from London Spot, we're actually going in the opposite direction of where London's or somebody's shoe prints were found. All right, let's talk alternative theory here. So there were footprints, shoe prints that were found along this road leading south from where the vehicle was high-centered stuck. An alternative theory is that London died somewhere else and was brought out to this spot, which would mean that somebody else would have had to make those shoe prints. And it was noted that Braydon Brown's shoe size was similar to hers, and he also had shoes that were similar to hers. So just something to think about. Regardless, the facts of the case don't change. Braydon Brown is the last human being to see London alive, and he was an adult male, and he's been charged with second-degree murder. Alternative theories about how her body got there don't change that fact in the least. So I kind of thought a little bit about going with the alternate theories, but it doesn't change the facts of the case at all. So, all right, we're gonna take that drive. We're gonna go north from London Spot and then west in front of this farmhouse, and then come back east and south to London Spot. We're gonna stop that, and we're gonna share this. Drive from London Spot to the farm road. Here we go. This time, I'm gonna share it. Add it to the stage. There we go. All right, buckle up. So Brittany and Rochelle are in the car in front of me, and I'm behind them with the camera and the Bluetooth connection to the microphones.
Let me get some. This is the road that London walked down.
Yep. And those at the end were some of the more clear prints that were. Look how slick it is right now.
Oh yeah, this is not slick like it was. Or this is way more slick than it was when we came down it.
Definitely more packed down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wonder if you can still see some footprints or anything. I doubt it, but
yeah. I wonder if we'll be able to see that area where down here where that looks like all of that stuff was dug up.
Mm-hmm.
When Brittany walked this road the day that we came out here, which would have been the 14th.
Yep.
I mean, the road was so covered in footprints from all different people, and I feel like this is a good example right here where the dirt is high up on the sides like this. What I was talking about earlier, she would have had to step up on the curb, but this dirt piled up like that on the side, to me, indicates regrading.
That it showed that it's been regraded and pushed through again.
Yeah, and but you can see how the edges are way higher than the road is deep. And that to me sounds like it takes cognitive abilities and physical abilities to be able to walk around
like a sober mind.
Yeah,
like sober, be able to make sober decisions.
The grass was not here at all in the middle of the road. It was not. There was no grass. It was so rough to drive down the first time.
I just can't believe how slick and compacted it is.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like that at all.
But then here's the windmill too.
Yeah, there's the infamous windmill road. That's why we started calling it that.
Mm-hmm. Was there spots for a second though that like you can almost see where trucks drive up over? Like where wasn't there moments where she like it showed where she like very steadily got up and walked around some puddles. Like it's just
there were several spots in this road that were washed out. Like
and I think it's like up over this hill though that it gets like a deep where the deep puddle of water was supposed to be. And another thing that's weird is like they acted like it was like some big secret where she was, but from the sounds of it, citizens and like people of town knew where it was and had already been out here and looked. Like, so I just think it was weird how much they just like didn't care to show us a lot of things.
yeah. See, here's where you can start to see more rougher, like up here and stuff. You can see where tires maybe struggled at some point to go through if it was muddy.
Yeah. And look, is there a wire there now?
Yeah, that wasn't there before.
Mm-mm.
I don't remember. Definitely don't remember.
There was
no,
and that's an electric fence wire.
See, this is all regraded. Look, you can see the new dirt.
Yeah.
You can see where it's been pushed up. Like,
where's where the car went off?
it's way further up here.
No, I know, but the second one, the first one, is it up here too, right after this hill?
I think somewhere down here. That's what I was wondering.
And none of that, you're right, none of that wheat field or anything was out there, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
It wasn't tall like that.
Not at all.
Dude, I'm not even seeing where the truck went off.
We wouldn't if it's been regraded.
It even went up on the hill, though.
Yeah.
That's weird. That was a pretty big drive-off mark.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they definitely put some new
This is all
dirt
new.
down.
Yeah. All new.
I'm curious to see if they fix this hole up here all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. No, all of this has been filled in because we've already passed the spot that was dug up. That looked like it was deep and dug up. We've already passed that.
No,
this is the
up
road.
Here. No, it's right up here. Right there. They fixed it.
Yeah, you're
right there.
That's it, right there.
They fixed it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I would have got a better picture of what it looked like before. For some reason, I was taking a motion picture on accident.
Nice. And look how close a truck would drive like that. I mean, I'm so glad.
Yeah, but this road isn't drove.
I know, but this road isn't drove at all.
So where's the farmer's house that Brayden went to? That way? That one?
Oh, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. The house, we believe that to be the house of the farmer over here. Yeah. I'm going to drive down here and then we can turn back around and go back if we need to. It has to be the house. It's the only house within any distance of that spot. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's the only house that's land would connect to that corner where London was found.
Yeah. Because he went opposite, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait. So did he go this way, or was it that house over there?
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm assuming this one. But I feel like, I don't know. Don't know.
He said trailer.
No, this is a blue trailer. I don't know. I just want to get a good picture of it.
Is that the one? I'm not sure.
We're not 100% sure if that's the correct house, but it is the only house that we've seen that's close enough in proximity to this area. And
I'm gonna try to look up places.
I know.
I'm looking to see right here. Look, here's the Terrence's EW9, and this is Terrence's. This is where Terrence's mom's is. EW8. So which way are we facing right now?
I'm trying to get to this street corner, and I'll be able to tell what corner we're at. 130. 135, and is this 8? Yeah, this is 8.
So the corner of 8 and
135.
135 is one, and then I don't know how to read this, dude. I'm gonna be quick. So it would have been if we went this way. Yeah, it would have been somewhere down there, right? Really? And then Terrence's is the opposite. Sorry, I'm like quiet and
yeah, and then we can get that map to Joe.
I'm about to send it to him right now.
Yeah, and that way he can know based on the coordinates of where we're at, which house was the right house.
I'm not good at directions like at all.
Is this, look at the ridge right here, is this the ridge where maybe it was driven up on? Like
right here?
Before they regraded, you can see where the dirt's pushed up right there. Like
it just went so far, yeah, like it just went so far off that it's like you can totally tell that's been pushed up.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is all brand new dirt, dude. This is not anything like it was.
No.
This is soft, new dirt, not compacted.
It has to be like right here or something. Look, yeah, that's it right there, because there's that piece of metal that was right there.
Oh, still there. It's crazy.
Yeah. If it looked, that's so crazy because now there's an electrical fence.
Yeah, that was there.
That was not there.
Because you walked this, so if there was that electrical wire there, you would have 100% seen it immediately.
I walked out over into
it. And not only that, but like there was the grass and stuff wasn't there then. Like it wasn't high like this.
Like, where did this big ass hill come from? That's not all just grass. Like, that looks like it goes up really fucking high now.
Yeah.
So just a quick note, we're driving right now where supposedly London's last footsteps walked before she got to her final resting place. So just be aware of that. It's a sober occasion. Yeah, I just wanted to make you aware of that. These are supposedly, so we just passed the spot where the truck got stuck and Brayden went off behind us the other way, and supposedly London went this way down the road to where she ended up. All right, here we go.
Oh, look.
That's the other side, though.
That's the other side, but that's
not the side she went up on, but that's the side that shows where they go up over.
That was where some of her footprints went up, though, to go around.
What is that?
What is what?
What, did somebody add a fucking gate?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that gate there at all.
And it says keep out. Dude.
Can't say F word, maybe.
Oh.
Sorry.
You can say the F word all you want.
Somebody added a whole... Is that fence new? I have to go back and look now and see if there was a fence there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
There might have been like this fence. I don't remember there being a fence.
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like we would have seen that. Yeah. I feel like it would have raised questions of how she didn't get electrocuted if she was so high.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was a space where we walked on the edge at parts. This overgrown in the middle of the road definitely wasn't here like this at all.
I know, I didn't mean to.
I keep forgetting. What is that? I don't remember.
Like a mile, like some type of gas marker? Water pipeline. Gas pipeline.
Some kind of pipe. I want to take into consideration I'm driving 10 miles an hour down this road. So when we are able to piece together how long it takes to drive this road, we can get a better estimate of how somebody would be walking, how long it would take for her to walk it. You know what I mean?
I just can't believe this is the last path that she walked. Like,
if that's
the truth, yeah. I was about to add that right after too. Like,
that's the one thing from the very beginning that I haven't stood by.
Yeah,
is that she physically walked this road. I have not since the very first time that he said that. That I've never said that's a possibility. Like, my brain just cannot wrap its mind around the fact that that is even close to a possibility. Like,
yeah. I think it
in her state of mind.
I know London. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had to.
If London was out here alive, she has enough nature training that she would have found somebody.
Yeah.
She would have.
Yeah.
London loved to be in nature. This would not have scared London.
Mm-mm.
We're back to the spot.
Yeah.
So I paused it right there so you could see the difference between the terrain that we just drove through, which granted is out in the middle of nowhere and has weeds, tall weeds on either side of the road. The difference between that and where she was found. And if you look on the right-hand side of the screen that I have right now, that's London's spot. That's where she was found, just to the left of that fence post with the monument on it, where the lights are down below. That's where she was found. So where she supposedly laid for 5 days is not the same as all of that desolate country that we just drove through. Like, she was supposedly in a sports bra or 2 sports bras and a pair of underwear and a pair of boxers, and the hoodie was off and her other clothes were off. And to the right, imagine her clothes off to the right from where we're at right now by about 30, 40 feet. And her shoes across the road from that And then she comes back and goes to lay down to pass away under the fence where we're looking at right now, off on the right-hand side of the screen. So there are a lot of questions that the family has. Supposedly the medical examiner's office and the DA's office was out here within hours of finding her body. But there are just questions that a lot of people have about where she was found, how she got there. So I'm going to finish this video. There's only like a couple of seconds left. Then we're going to get to another one. I'm going to show you a vehicle that comes up from off to where our right is now is west of the site. So this road goes east to west. And there's a truck that comes up. And I started recording just because I'm like, hold on. Let me change the viewport so I can talk to you. I'm going to talk to you. Am I talking to you now? Can you hear me now? Here we go. So off to our right, we're there for a couple of hours or so. But when I talked to the Hooker PD chief, Scott Hedrick, he previously worked in Beaver County. So Hooker is in Texas County. All of this went down in Beaver County. Hooker PD chief Scott Hedrick used to work, and I think he actually used to be the sheriff in Beaver County. And he said in all 15 years of working there, he only drove down this road that we're looking at, the east to west road, left to right, right to left, maybe 15 times. But when I was out there with Brittany and Rochelle for just a couple of hours, a truck came up from the right, and the guy drives up in this white pickup truck. He sees two cars out alongside the road, and he goes, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah, everything's okay. Everything's cool." And he drives on. In hindsight, I should have asked him a few more questions, like, how often do you drive this road? Do you remember anything about a teenage girl going missing anywhere near here? You know, questions like that. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still missing opportunities. Next time, I'll grab that one. But if you go one way on a county road in rural Oklahoma or rural Indiana or rural Utah, chances are at some point in the near future, you're going to be driving the other way, or you drove the other way in the recent past, right? You don't just go one way on a county road. You're going two ways on a county road in a rural area. Hindsight's no fun, but I learned from hindsight. Oh, that's a good question. Golden rule. I like that question. Will the mobile towers be able to help in that area? We have cell phone tower pings in the probable cause affidavit. So yes. And I can't wait to see the specific data that gets presented in court at trial. I love me some gray key data and celebrate translation of that gray key data. All right. So we're going to finish playing this out. And then we'll get to the next one. I'm going to show you the white pickup truck, and then we're going to get to a little longer video that is Brittany and Rochelle doing a lot of talking about the evidence that they saw at the scene when they visited on June the 14th, 2 days after London was found. Oh, that happened fast. Holy cow, that happened fast. All right, we're back up. They say hindsight is 2020. This StreamYard is really messing with me today. All right. We're going to get to that. 40 minutes, 2 boots on the ground. Where did that truck go? All right, I'm going to have to track down the truck video. It's not right here where I expected it to be. Give me just a minute, if you would, please. YouTube Studio. Content. There we go. Truck passes London spot. It's a really short video. It's really short. And this is me standing right across from London spot. And then I look off to my right and this truck comes up. So imagine you are just a casual person who doesn't know that somebody is missing, but the grass that you see across from me is the way that the grass was that day. The grass that's taller to the right was actually shorter back in June, was quite a bit shorter. It was like half as tall. So imagine that when you see this video, and imagine that you're somebody that passes this spot and doesn't notice a body laying out by the fence post. Like she's what, 5'5", 5'6", whatever she is, in her underwear, and you don't notice it laying out there. It doesn't make sense. So here we go. Share screen, add to stage, change perspective, and here we go. Where did we go? Hold on. All right, that didn't work. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
London was supposedly, allegedly.
I'm going to start over.
5 days.
We only lost 17
And the car
seconds.
is approaching to London spot. 6:43 p.m. I'd like to note we've only been out here a few hours, and London was supposedly, allegedly, out here for 5 days.
Is this? I hope this is Terrence.
Maybe. Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know what Terrence looks like.
I don't either.
I'm like, I don't. Oh, he's stopping. Oh, he's pulling his window down. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, what do you say?
All right. So that was quick, but I think it was pretty clear that that gentleman that was driving that truck, hold on. That gentleman that was driving that truck was paying attention to his surroundings. So when did he go the other way? Did he go the other way earlier in the day? Did he go in the other way at night? Just so let's go back to what Hooker PD Chief Scott Hedrick told me about when Beaver County Sheriff Scott Mitchell found her the morning of June the 12th. He said he just happened to be driving down that road and he caught her clothes out of the corner of his eye. And her clothes were on the other side of the road. So he did a U-turn. He went back around. He went to check out her clothes. And then he kept on investigating and eventually found her. I have lots of questions. I have lots of questions, Golden Rule. So, it's similar colors. Maybe why not seen faster? But if you say similar colors, then why were her clothes found on the 12th, but nowhere on the 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th? Because Beaver County Sheriff Scott Mitchell did a U-turn because he saw her clothes because they were so differently colored than the surrounding area. So it doesn't make a ton of sense. And it's also one of the frustrations of the family. Oh, gosh. My green screen disappeared. There we go. That's better. It's one of the frustrations of the family that her body laid out there for 5 days. And it also somewhat compromised the medical examiner's investigation, because once the body is so far decomposed, you can't do certain tests. So, hold on. There we go. Now I have a full green screen again. So we have one more video to watch. And this is a fairly lengthy video. So I hope you all... Caitlin, hey, welcome in. Good to see you. I hope you'll hang with me for this, because this is going to come with some caveats. And I actually had to write these down first so I don't forget them. So once again, this was recorded before charges were filed against Braydon Brown. But also remember, charges might be due against other adults involved in this. Because as Brittany and Rochelle will mention in this, if you're an adult and you witness a minor consuming alcohol and possibly illegal substances, you might be able to be found guilty of a criminal charge. So keep that in mind. At this point in time, as far as I know, Braydon Brown is the only one that's been charged. Jose is the one that picked her up from her grandmother's house, drove them around for most of the time until that last trip from Guyman to Forgan. The whole time she was communicating with her family until the morning of the 7th, saying, I'm going to come home, I'm going to come home, going to come home. Never came home. And also this was recorded before my interview with Chief of Police Scott Hedrick of Hooker, Oklahoma. And he had a couple of minor discrepancies with some of the stuff that we talk about in this. Nothing that would change the criminal liability for any of the suspects. And OSBI Special Agent Ryan Beck was still investigating and was still putting together his prosecutorial before he handed it off to Buddy Leach and recommended second-degree murder charges. But the family had direct communications with Jose and Brayden following London's body being found. And they also had direct communications with law enforcement while she was missing and before she was found and after she was found. So some of the stuff that Brittany and Rochelle talk about is speculation, but some of it is also communications that they had, relevant communications that they had with the suspects. And I'm going to say that plural, suspects and law enforcement. So this is a lengthy video. I'm going to let it play out. If I were to stop and comment on it, it's going to last 2 hours. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let it play out. And pay close attention to what Brittany and Rochelle say. Like, they were very gracious to spend this time with me out at London Spot. And I so appreciate it. And I'm so sorry that it's taken this long to publish it. But there were certain aspects of it that had to be edited. And there were other crazy things going on. So, here we go. There's that. And we got to share it. I'm going to add it to the stage this time. Here we go. How are you feeling?
Very emotional.
Supposedly her clothes were found over here. So supposedly, according to allegedly, yeah, this is the road that London walked down, a little over 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, way on the other side. And so she walked all the way down here, and you see footprints, like shoe prints, all the way up into this corner over here, and then it goes off into the ditch, and then down there is where they found her clothes on this side of the road, and it was about down there where her car is, if not further, a little bit further, and then you backtrack this way. Across the street and back, and
yeah, it's about where that little pebble is, that black thing. Yeah, right around that area is where the toe prints were.
This is where her toe prints were,
and that's where they claimed her shoes were at.
And then you'll see like where there was like grass laid down all the way
into a straight path,
in a straight path all the way over, cut through. And then her body was laying right here. And the thing is this grass is probably at least 2 feet taller than it was when she was found. And she was laying right here, just in the open, like this. So if you were driving from this way or even from straight down, she was right here in the open. There was no grass covering her, anything like that. And like I said, this grass was only up to like right here whenever she was found. So
and as you see, this grass doesn't even grow.
Yeah. And so pretty much like right here is where she was laying. And I think it's been pretty confusing to everybody how for 5 days, not one person, not even a passerby didn't see her laying here, especially law enforcement knowing she was missing and that Brayden was just picked up down the road down there.
So he went the other way?
Yeah. Yeah, so he went the other way on the road. And so if you were to even patrol down here, I'm not sure how you wouldn't have even seen her laying there, or at least the clothes down there or the shoes on the other side of the road, to not be like, hey, there's a girl missing and I picked this guy up down the road and there's clothes laying on
the grandma said that the girl was with this particular guy.
Yeah.
Several days before, like.
And I think that makes it like kind of a big questionable thing, is like, how did anybody miss this? Like, how did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, if not even a little bit taller. This is definitely a lot taller. So I think that raises even a lot of eyebrows for like investigative reasons. Is like, how was she not seen in those 5 days that she was reported and was known to be missing in this area that she was just laying out here in the open and not found for 5 days until. Well, she was wearing a red hoodie and stuff at one point, but those are the clothes that were found down there. So when she was found, she was wearing a blue bra and a gray sports bra, and was it gray?
I don't remember what color.
And a sports bra, and then a pair of underwear with gray boxer briefs over them. So yeah, it looks pretty similar. Yeah. So yeah, it was. I mean, and just thinking of like the body in decomposition state, like, you know, I feel like it just was probably very visible and just not looked for is my guess. They didn't start searching for her until the morning the morning she was found, and OSBI had been called in that morning, and they were on their way. But surprisingly, Scott Mitchell and a Hooker Police Department officer, Guero, found London that morning.
So the officer from Hooker drove all the way out here.
Yeah. Not the Hooker chief of police, but he sent one of his other law enforcement. Yeah. And that was the day after that they had met with Jose and did the interview with him. Whenever I had met with Jose down in Hooker when he was trying himself to meet with the Hooker chief of police, and they were ignoring his phone calls. So I drove all the way down from Ponca City to take Jose up there, and then they met with him. And I think somewhere in that interview, they realized maybe things weren't what they thought they were going to be, or what they thought, like just as far as a runaway, and maybe that raised some concerns. And then I met with Scott Hedrick, the Hooker chief of police, in the morning, and by that morning they had called in for help.
But within hours of the OSBI being called in, they found her.
Yeah, she was found.
So let's talk about the toe prints and the drag marks again.
Okay.
Because I'm not real clear on that.
Okay. So over here is where the shoe, like you can tell somebody was wearing shoes whenever it crossed off, and just kind of cut off the corner here.
And then the shoe prints just disappeared.
They just disappeared.
We're just assuming that whoever was wearing them went through the grass at that point.
Yeah, they cut off over here, and then you don't see any other shoe prints or anything, or footprints until her toe prints. But before even that is her pile of clothes. So
at some point in this area,
yeah,
is where the clothes were at, and per Scott Mitchell, they were in a neat pile on this side of the road. Mind you, she came down that road, was found there, and did she backtrack all the way this way before crossing the road with no footprints, and then ended up here somehow? That part is what is very confusing to us.
Yeah, so whatever is what they're saying happened is she would have had to come all the way over here, and then her clothes were found here on this side, backtracked over here, still had her shoes on. So she took her clothes off before her shoes. And then her shoes were over here. And then in the very front up here, and I actually have pictures of this, is the very tips of her toes. Not a full footprint, but it was like she was standing on her tiptoes.
But no footprints leading up to it.
No full footprint of like weight being put on it or anything like that. So it's just toe footprints, and then there's like some facing this way, and then a little bit further down there's more toe footprints, and then in the grass it cuts off. I don't want to go in here because I don't know what's in there right now, but
And that just shows how much more grass there was, because I wasn't afraid to walk through it the first time.
She crawled through it.
I crawled through it the first time. And I was looking for handprints and everything, couldn't find footprints, whatever. Couldn't really see a lot, but I walked through it and it left some grass laid down, but the way that because I did it in a spot right next to it, but whenever I pulled my body through, like as if I was being drugged, it laid the grass down all the way.
Like identical to how it was already laid down next
versus like it was just trampled through. So to me, it almost looks like she was drugged through it and then laid there. Almost, this is all my, like, this isn't proof or anything like that, but it almost looks like somebody had stopped here, got her out on her tiptoes, like holding her up, and then drug her through over there. Because it would be like if somebody had me up by my arms like this, and they were holding me up on my tiptoes, and then pulled me through the grass. Because if I were to do it myself, I feel like I would put my full feet down, a full footprint. Yeah. And it looked like she was being like held up on her tiptoes.
Not only that, I want to point out that in the footprints that were there, the toe prints, the dirt was disturbed upwards, so like her feet went into the dirt. Does that make sense? Like a sudden jolt into the dirt. The front where her toes would have been is the part of the dirt that was disturbed upwards. And in order to do that, I have to put force downwards. Like I'm being dropped. Like my weight is dropping into that, not just laying my foot down flat. It wouldn't have left an uneven level of dirt there.
Right. And were they side-by-side toe prints, like boom, or was it like one in front of the other?
No, they were like almost like,
yeah, side by side,
like this, like your legs are uneven, unlevel.
But the other thing is like there's literally no footprints from where her clothes are to have even shown that she walked
across
the road over to where she was.
But conveniently, there were shoe prints everywhere else that supposedly she walked. Yeah. I was literally going to point it out. And mind you, she walked when it was muddy. There was a tornado in the same location the night before she walked here.
And that was part of their reasoning is, well, her footprints were so solid in there because it was like
mud.
Clay,
it was like clay. Here. That was exactly what they told us.
And I walked the entire mile. It took me 4 hours. I took pictures of every single footprint I could find. And there wasn't a whole lot for them to even just have enough evidence to say she walked that entire thing. Like, in my mind, when they told me that, I thought I was going to see, like, for them to have that much just, like, belief that it was her, that it was her walking, I thought there'd be a pretty solid set of footprints, and there's not. And so
at some point we were having to guess which shoes were potentially the shoes, because we know she was wearing Air Force Ones. And so we had to guess off of the shape of the shoe, not even the footprint it left, because Air Force Ones have a very distinct circle pattern on their print on the bottom. Yes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those prints didn't have that. And, but we also know based on pictures that Brayden sent himself afterwards, he also was wearing a very similar pair of shoes, exact same brand, just different color.
Maybe not that night, but there's proof that he has some. And to me, for that to be such a common shoe,
it just goes to show that those prints could have been anybody's.
I even have some, I realized later that I have some Nike slides that almost have very similar shoe print bottom. So I think it's just really a Nike sneaker type thing.
Like the Nike pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they also are around the same, like, weight and size. So I just really, I'm like, how do you know that those were even hers? And we also had to point out that, like, they said she ran. That's what they were told, so they say that she ran. And, after we showed them pictures, they had to admit that she walked because the strides weren't far enough apart
for running.
Whoever this was as walking, they weren't running.
And also, I want to say that I physically took my shoe off to compare my foot to the prints left here because OSBI told us that they were entire footprints, that was a full footprint. I wear 3 sizes smaller than London does, and the footprints left here were less than my whole footprint, which tells us that they were less than half of her foot. Like, and we told him that, and he couldn't answer that. He couldn't answer as to why that footprint. He told us that that was an entire footprint, yet it was smaller than my foot. I wear a 6.5 in child shoes, youth size, and she wears an 8 in men's, which is the
about the
equivalent
same
of
as
almost
mine.
a 10 in women's.
Yeah, and that's what I wear. So that's kind of how I know how much, like, what size London shoe is.
Yeah.
She could probably wear a 9.5, 10, but we wear around the same size, and that's how I know I wear a size 8.5 men's Nike Air Force One, because I've had a pair myself. So, but I just really think it's important, like, for them to base so much evidence off of just such little information that they had out here, and then just for it to be so open. Like, I really thought she was going to be like in the grass or like
I thought it was going to look more like
trees.
this behind you, where it's completely covered in grass and you can't see the ground there.
Yeah.
You literally cannot see. If there was somebody laying there right now, we would not know.
And my other, sorry, I'm just going off, but my other thing is, if she was walking that way and going for help, there's clearly houses that way. What made her turn around and go towards absolutely nothing?
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why did she walk that way where you can clearly see if she was going to get help, to turn around and try to go this way?
Also, just have to say this, the shoe prints that we followed, that they claimed were London's coming down this road here, they meticulously went around anything that looked like it had been a puddle. You could tell the dirt was more moist in certain spots, so you know that that part had washed out or been a puddle, and the shoe prints meticulously went around those. So if she was avoiding water and deep mud and all that, why did she choose to walk through the grass here or crawl through this grass here? That part doesn't make sense to me. If you've avoided it the whole way down, why do you choose to crawl through it here?
But it's also the footprints and stuff. There's no stumbling. For somebody who was losing their life in the middle of overdosing off a substance and their body shutting down, her footprints consistently were very straightforward. You know what I mean? And I know that they don't have in the ME report that, you know, she alcohol proof, but we have proof that they admitted that they'd been drinking with her. And so I'm guessing she was pretty extremely intoxicated at the same time or something. Like, I just have a hard time imagining she made it that 3/4 of a mile down the road without stumbling or, you know, falling or anything like that. No handprints where she fell to lose her life at the end, crawling through a piece of grass, you know, through a piece of grass to lay there to take her last breath. Like,
it takes a lot of cognitive ability to make the decisions to walk around puddles.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You have to have some cognitive mindset still to say, oh, I don't want to step in this.
No, there's a puddle. I'm going to
go around it. I'm going to go not just around it, but there were places where you could tell she went up on the ledge. Like, if we want to drive down this road here in a minute, you'll see that the sides of it is a gully. Like, you can't, in order to get up on the grass, you have to step up on a ledge. Like, it's dug down. The road is dug down into the ground. So you have to have cognitive ability to do that in the rain, in the wetness, in the moist grass, and not fall.
And some physical ability.
Yeah. Like,
To have your body successfully do that.
and be dying?
Yeah.
Actively dying?
You
only made it this far and you died? Like,
and another thing that I have noticed is Brayden makes the claim that they were on the highway driving and that they thought they saw police chasing, so they hit the dirt roads and took off. Where do you see even a highway close around? Like, there's no highway for him to have been running that intently from police.
there's one sheriff.
There's one, yeah. There's one sheriff in town. I'm sure there's others that we've only seemed to know of.
There's one head sheriff, and then
Was it possible that he was already taking some methods?
Oh, he admitted he was. Yeah. So this is where it's a really big concern. We have an adult male with my 16-year-old daughter who is admitting that he was so high off illegal substances that he hallucinated, thinking he saw the police after him in a chase. Not even just police, special agents, he said. And that he got out and ran and took his own bag of meth and to avoid getting in trouble for being stupid. And then when I asked him what he was doing in that 2.5 hours, he said he was out there laying in a field trying not to go to sleep because he was afraid he wasn't going to wake up. And the next thing he knows is he's laying on the farmer's porch. And then, of course, the farmers have a different story and say that they called the police because he was digging in the ditches, looking weird, and where he told them that he was hired by Jason Johnston specifically to pick up trash.
And where do you get that information from?
The call logs. We have the call logs from that night that we got. So that's the proof that we have. We learned that actually from the call logs. We knew that he said he was working for the police, but that was the first time we had learned through the call logs that he used Jason Johnston's name specifically, which happens to be the sheriff that picked him up that night.
2.5 hours later.
Yeah. After this wreck. Yeah. So, I just think that and then, you know, at the same time, like, if you look around here, there's not a lot of places to go for help except for the one way she was going to make her turn around.
If her clothes and stuff were in an accurate position, she would have been going the right way to
get help.
Made it to a house eventually. Like,
but she didn't have her cell phone because that miraculously they couldn't find it before they went on this little trip that was turned in a week later out of Jose's mom's car, allegedly, according to their stories. So I just don't see how, like, you know, an adult out here high on drugs, hallucinating to where he crashes with a minor in the car and she dies regardless of what happened down the road later from substances like that he was doing with her.
And this part isn't just hearsay, as we think that Jason knew that he was driving under the influence and high and inebriated out of his mind and
no driver's license.
Had no driver's license.
But that even after that, he didn't take the initiative to come out here and after knowing London was missing and last seen with Brayden, the guy that he picked up that night, to come and look around. You literally, if you made a 1 square mile look around,
you would have found
her.
There's no other ways. It's not like there's zigzag roads in between these fields. Like, it's just cut off in miles, 1 mile each. Like,
and I think
you can't even. Let's see what road I'm on. So you can't even get all the way through on one of these roads. I want to say it's from this direction, which is where we came from. You can't get through, so you only have this way. Like, when we were first taking the GPS, it was trying. That's why I had to do a U-turn on the road, because it was trying to take me down a different road that I knew was blocked off. It didn't exist. It's only one way in. Like, so
I think that's like just in general a question that is kind of even stumped like investigators, is like, how did nobody find her? And that's where we kind of get the suspicions and our own like questions about, was she moved? And like, we know that there was decomposition, and the medical examiner, you know, reports that, you know, for so many days she would have had to been laying out here in order to get that amount of decomp. But I asked her specifically, I said, is it possible though at some point that she could have been moved, and when? And she said it is possible that if they would have put her in a tarp or some type of protection over her, put her somewhere in a house or something, if she wasn't just laying out in the heat, that she could have that same decomp and have been placed there on Monday. So, and she would have died on Saturday, because I also just find it a coincidence that as soon as I put their names out there on social media, I feel like it raised concerns that they were known as the last people seen with her, and they couldn't be caught with her after that, right? We got to go put her somewhere.
Not only that, but
in our hands, like
Brayden at some point told Jose the day that he was being chased by the agents, having his hallucination, he told Jose that he was on his grandpa's land.
Yeah, and I have that on recording.
Mm-hmm.
He said that Brayden said he was on his grandpa's land, something about his being on his grandpa's land, and we found out later that both Brayden's dad and mother have grandpas with land outside of Forgan. So,
Forgan is that little town.
The little 3 miles
the
town that was just outside of here. Yep. Because I think that's where Brayden's dad's from, that area. So I believe he was like a first respondent of some sort there. So I think maybe Jason Johnston and Braydon's dad knew each other.
Well, he admitted he had Braydon's dad's phone number. He called him himself that night. And he's, according to what OSBI even told us, is that he told Leo, come get your son. And Leo said, well, I can't because I've been drinking. And so
you're gonna have to bring him home.
Yeah, Jason Johnston agreed to bring him all the way home.
Oh, here's another weird thing though too, is this phone call happened around 9 to come pick up Brayden. Braydon's dad said he didn't get brought home till like 10:30. So I don't know, but didn't take him down to the station or anything like that. So I don't really know what they were doing in that
for an hour and a half. You see, it didn't take us very long. And Beaver's what, 10 or 15 minutes even?
Yeah, it's only 10 miles away.
Yeah, so it doesn't take an hour and a half to get 10 minutes. Like,
yeah, I'm just really like, don't feel like it was taken very seriously. And if it would have been, we don't know how long it took London to die. If we really want to be honest. How do we know if he didn't turn around and come look for her? He couldn't have taken her to the hospital and London would be alive. You know, there's no way to prove that she was, but you know what? There's no way to prove that she couldn't have survived either.
Because per the chief of medical examiner of Oklahoma right now, they don't give estimated times of death in Oklahoma anymore.
That's what we were told. That they don't give estimated times of death anymore. So, which I think is really, really strange.
Because when you look it up, they are supposed to. Because every attorney I've talked to about hiring an attorney for this purpose said the one thing they need in order to agree to take the case is an estimated time of death. If they're Oklahoma attorneys, why would they ask for a piece of information that they know Oklahoma doesn't provide? Yeah. Kind of crazy.
Definitely kind of crazy. And I noticed in the letter from the DA, Mr. Leach, that he said that he came out here that morning. So he did. Him and the medical examiner and somebody else, maybe the OSBI. And so I'm just kind of curious how he doesn't have maybe some more questions that are more related to what happened to London versus London's previous history of life that has nothing to do with her death. I throw that out there. I'm really upset about that because you don't place the value of somebody's life because of their past. I don't care if London was the biggest meth head in the entire world or anything like that. She was given meth by adults at 16 and her life is just as valuable as if she had never done drugs before in her life. Like, that's not what her life should be, the value of her life should be determined on. Like, the law is the law, regardless of who you are, and the law was broken, and they need to be held accountable for that. You don't get to pick and choose who the law applies to, and it seems like that happens a lot down here.
Okay, I just need to comment on that real quick. Like, I wanted to play this all the way through because if I stop and comment on every commentable area, this is going to take hours and hours. They need to be held accountable. Not just the one person that has been charged in this. They need to be held accountable. Just throwing that out there. Like, why haven't more people been charged in this? Just a thought. Here we go.
Like, more often we're learning than we ever even knew. And so it's becoming a very concerning realization that a lot of things are swept under the rug down here and everybody's connected. And it's very, very discouraging to feel like you don't know where to turn to get help.
Yeah, what did we just hear from the public information officer? The USBI? There are no suspects or persons of interest in this matter.
Nope, no persons of interest, no suspects, no charges, no arrests. And I'm like, what do you mean there's no persons of interest? Like, at least like that.
Per the OSBI agent that's working this case just 3 weeks prior to their media person saying that The OSBI agent definitely led on that they had persons of interest at the very least.
He very much admitted to me that he thinks the situations are weird. So, and I haven't heard from him since that letter came out. He was supposed to call us or call us on Monday to let us know, because he said he was going to meet with the DA and to call him on Tuesday if he never called. So I called him on Monday. I called him that Tuesday, and now it's been it'll be 3 weeks now. Tomorrow, and I've called him consistently. I've left voicemails. I've sent text messages. I haven't heard anything. If anything, when I call, I get 2 rings and I go to voicemail. And I could say his phone shut off, but there's been times I called and it went more than 2 rings and got sent to voicemail. But we tried to call up there at the office and ask if he's on vacation again, because that's happened to us before. And, she didn't know a whole lot of information, but she said that she would have him give us a call back. But we've done this once before and tried to have him have the supervisors call back, and they never called back either. So I don't know. I just feel like things have taken a sudden turn, and I really just want people to see and be aware, if anything, for awareness of the place that you live in, what you guys have, what Texas County has going on around here, as far as how the law enforcement handles, terrible situations, tragic situations. And I don't think they're really used to coming across these kind of situations like that. I'm not sure they're really trained to handle situations like that. I mean, they might have been trained, but I don't think they're used to it. And so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but there's definitely some very lack of effort being done here. And it's really, I feel like it's very concerning, because I think anybody with half a brain cell can say, hey, something's wrong here. This isn't right. There's clearly multiple crimes committed here, because let's not even forget the fact that she laid out here for 5 days because they lied to law enforcement about who she was last seen with. How is that not a crime in itself? I think I've told the story that one time I got in trouble for giving my best friend's little sister a ride down the street when I was 16, and the cops knocked on my door, and I got scared, and I said I hadn't seen her, and then I felt bad. I went and turned myself in, and they tried to get me at 16 for aiding and abetting a runaway, but then decided to give me obstructing an officer from his duty, and I got first offender classes. Even I got in trouble for that at 16 for helping give my friend a ride, my friend's little sister, a ride down the street. What happened was I lied. I broke the law. I did, I admit, but if I'm going to get in trouble at 16 for that, he definitely should be in trouble at 20 for picking up a 16-year-old and keeping her out for 2 days without returning her home. And this happened here in Guyman, Oklahoma, when I got in trouble for that, and Hooker. So
he definitely should have gotten in trouble for that. Let's remember that, because in part 3, we are going to take a deeper dive into Jose's criminal history and into the court's interaction with Jose and dismissing 8 of 9 felony charges, allegedly.
So how does the law apply to me at 16 years old, but it doesn't apply to a 20-year-old who is running around doing substances with a 16-year-old? That's what's concerning for me, is it's almost like Oklahoma is picking and choosing who to apply its laws to. And I don't think that that's okay.
So this was first reported to Hooker PD, right?
Yeah.
Officially reported on the 7th.
Yes.
And then Hooker PD did what about it?
So initially, we had thought maybe London was with an old boyfriend of hers, and so because he had just gotten out of jail, and so we let Scott know, and he did send up I think the Texas County Sheriff and a police officer to go look at this person's house, and she wasn't there. And then after that, it was just nothing. Oh well, she's not there, and she's just a runaway. After that, they didn't post anything on their missing persons. They didn't report her on any of the social media pages or anything like that. They basically mocked me every single time and was like, would say things like, you need to calm down, you're acting like she's dead or something already. He literally yelled that in my face the night before she was found, the night before she was found. That's when I met Jose down there at the police station with him. And I was telling him he needed to try to put some effort, because actually he had told everybody that he was going with the Beaver County Sheriff to Woodward to talk to Brayden. And so when we asked him, what are you even doing here? Because you're supposed to be gone. You said you were going up there. He said, I didn't say that. And we all said, yeah, you did. He said, I said I would try. And I said, well, when are you going to start trying? Because the longer you wait and the more you don't try, the longer she's laying out there. And he's like, you're acting like she's dead or something already. I said, she is dead or something. And then he mocked me as a mental health professional, saying I should know better than to be that negative. And I said, well, before I'm a mental health professional, I'm a mom and I know my daughter, and I'm telling you something's wrong and you're not listening. Matter of fact, I made a Facebook post about it that same night before she was even found, saying Hooker Police Department's not taking me seriously, and I'm very upset about it. And I'm actually really glad I posted that to show before she was even found that they weren't doing what they were doing. I hate that I feel like I have to have proof for literally everything, but I feel like I have to have proof for literally everything in this situation right now.
So they responded to one tip from you guys, and then
that was it. Yeah. So basically, I feel like he played a little bit of a part in the hand of it, of downplaying London, because he was so biased against her that she was just going to be a runaway. And so they just really, it was just straight up, you can tell, like, it was just dismissal. I know that he just thought London was, misbehaving and was going to come back any minute, and that's not the case. And hopefully it's a very good reminder that they signed up to do a job for a reason, and they need to do their job. Like,
they should treat every kid, whether a runaway or not, whether we know for a matter of fact whether they left a note that says I'm running away. They should treat every child that is not in the safety of their own home as serious.
Yeah.
Because they are a minor and a child until 18 for a reason. That means if they're not in the safety of their parents or a responsible adult, they do not have the cognitive ability to make rational and safe decisions.
They're not even like, their brains aren't even formed enough to be said that they can make, good and bad decisions correctly.
Until 25.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I just don't see how, I just feel like in so many other situations, and if anything, an adult doing any type of substance with a minor would automatically be some type of charge. And I'm not understanding why this isn't being taken. It's not even like he was drinking beer with her. He was doing. Sorry, almost.
Hold on. StreamYard's having issues. Let me. Good grief. Let me get the layout fixed. What the heck? All right, there we go. All right, we're back on track.
Dropped the F-bomb real hard. He was giving her meth. Like, even if per se he didn't give her the meth, to be sitting there with a 16-year-old who was doing so much meth that she died, I still feel like that should be illegal.
And according to Oklahoma statutes, it is.
Yeah.
If you provide a space for a minor to do drugs in, that's illegal. If you provide a space for a minor to do drugs in, and that minor dies from said drugs, that's first-degree murder, because it falls under felony murder.
Intent or no intent.
Yes, and in the state of Oklahoma, felony murder is charged as first-degree murder.
And then after that, like you said, lying to the police.
Yeah.
Is that not?
Nope. Hasn't even been, doesn't seem like
filing a false report, obstruction of a police investigation.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. If I got in trouble for that at 16, and I turned myself in an hour later because I felt so stinking bad about it, and I still got in trouble, like, how is that? I don't think anyone would understand how bad that feels unless it was your daughter laying out there that had no eyeballs and you were never allowed to see again, or a face, to understand how freaking disrespectful that is to me, for them to not get in trouble for lying to me, that my daughter laid out here and decomposed to the point where I was not ever able to see her ever again, to the point where she didn't have eyeballs, to the point where I was never even able to look at her in a casket again. They had to put her in 3 disaster bags. Like, no mother should have to stay here and find their daughter like that. Like, because adult males decided if they would have just been like, yeah, she was last seen with us, then maybe she could have at least been found in a state where she was still looked like a person. Like, that's what really upsets me. How disrespectful is that to me to say that it doesn't matter that they lied and she laid out here and rotted? Like, that's just messed up in itself. And if you can't have compassion for that as a person, then I just don't even know. Not even just as a legal standpoint, to just sit there and say that that's not wrong. Because I guarantee you, if it was their children, they would be very upset. I'm trying to keep, like, I'm just getting emotional, and sometimes I want to drop the F-bomb, but it's, I'm trying to be professional right now. But it's like, that really, really, really hurts me to even just, for them to not treat that like that is even something that they did wrong. Because it's not their kids that was laying out there. I guarantee you, if it came down to a situation when their kids were laying out there and they kid didn't have eyeballs, their babies didn't have eyeballs by the time they found it, they would be furious. No matter what the situation was. And they lied. And they're not getting in trouble for anything. That doesn't make sense. That'd be like me doing drugs with a 13-year-old, and if I wasn't the one giving them, I feel like I should get, yeah, I watched her do meth for 3 days, and I drove her around, and we partied, but I didn't give it to her. Like, that doesn't even make sense to myself.
And that's with the speculation that London was willingly doing meth. However, you know, the ME report never mentions that she had scarring to the esophagus or lungs, and there were 0 track marks, and that was from the chief medical examiner's mouth herself, that there were no track marks or damage to her lungs or esophagus that said she willingly smoked or injected meth into her body.
And where would she have even got enough meth to smoke continuously enough to the point where she died? Like, it's common sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that none of these questions are even being dug into are really concerning. Like, even if it was, say, London's meth, they were with her for 2 days. Like, how did London get enough meth to, you know what I mean? It's just, I just want to just,
especially when
call
Brayden
people
admitted
stupid.
that he took his meth out of his mouth. I took my meth and swallowed it because I didn't want to get in trouble for being dumb.
Yeah. But, you know, the meth London had was her. Yeah.
Did she have lots of money? Did she have a job?
No. No, she wasn't even allowed to leave like that. London was not allowed to just run all over the place. Like, my mom tried really, really hard to keep an eye on her, you know what I mean? That she's 16 and she left without permission. Like, London
at 11
didn't
o'clock
have
in the morning.
Yeah, 11 o'clock. That's why she wasn't tucked in at bed at night, just so you know. It was 11 a.m. But it's just even just, I don't know, all of it is just so, sorry, I'm sitting here and now I'm all worked up now.
Yeah, that's when I ended that video. Now I'm all worked up now. Oh, Brittany, we feel ya. We feel ya. And thank you, everybody, for supporting Brittany and London. We're going to get justice for London. We are. This February 6th hearing is going to be huge. We have a subpoena for Jason Johnston. We have a subpoena for Jose Munoz Luna. And we have a judge that can decide to not proceed to trial, which is potentially the same judge. And I don't know if it's Judge Parsley or Judge Cash that is going to overhear that. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there supporting justice for London. And thank you, Brittany, for dropping in here. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to leave us with 3 minutes. So I took 13 minutes of video at sunset at London spot, and I'm going to leave us with 3 minutes of that. because I had to edit out some of the things that were said during that were kind of private. But we're going to do a part 3. Part 3, I'm going to show you the streets of Hooker, Oklahoma, the streets that London ran. And I'm going to show you the court documents for Jose for his 2023 case, where allegedly he committed an armed robbery or attempted to commit an armed robbery with Brayden. Brayden was a minor. He was not. We're never going to see Brayden's criminal record from that because he was a juvenile. But thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, everybody. Let's leave it on a good note. Let's leave it on a positive note. Let's leave it on sunset at London Spot. Like, that was such a beautiful moment. You can't even make that up, how beautiful that moment was. And then we're going to keep talking about this case all the way up until we get justice for London. All right. There's a sunbeam dancing off of Memorial.
Like an almost like spirit. Like her spirit. I feel like she's always here with me. Like, I've had people tell me that like she's with me. They're like, she's with me right now. Like, I feel like she's with me. Is there really great?
So one sunbeam that's coming straight down out of the heavens.
I was ready to like.
lovely friends, have a good afternoon. Don't forget to stop back by and see me real soon. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference.